a little bit kind of worn out with, but they've been incredibly proactive. If you go to their website, you will find a community hub where there's an enormous amount of resource that if you'd like to use for yourselves or your people in your business or a wider community, then I would highly recommend you check it out. This evening's talk is about mentoring. Why this is a particular priority right now and why probably it should have been a priority before. How it happens, how do different people actually use that, and what opportunities in particular it can create for you, for the people that work for you, and obviously your business. We're going to start off with a very, very short story. 15 years ago, I worked in America. I was responsible for a number of large factories. And we were trying to grow them very quickly. So we had tried to introduce a culture of involvement. And one of the initiatives was to invite somebody from the shop floor into the board meetings. If you've not done this before, I highly recommend it. It's very refreshing. On this occasion, a chap called Roy joined us in the boardroom. Roy was 63. He'd spent most of his working life working on the shop floor. Left school at 13, so not highly educated. He didn't particularly want to be there. He sat in the meeting and watched us discuss how we were going to lay out this particular plant inside the factory. So we were moving bits of cardboard around on the table, being very smart. And at the end of it, when we come up with a conclusion, we asked him what he thought. And reluctantly, he stood up and just moved some of these cards around on the table and said, if you do it that way, you'll get one person doing two things and it'll be a lot more efficient. And it was one of those tumbleweed moments where we thought we've completely missed that. But what it turned out that Roy was actually a very smart guy. As I said, he left school at 13, not educated, didn't see himself as being smart, so he'd never invested in himself, and equally, no one had ever invested in him either. The sad thing about Roy is that it was pretty much too late for him, but it taught me a valuable lesson that the cream does not always rise to the surface. So we got 4 great panelists to talk about mentoring. We got 2 mentors and 2 mentees. We're going to kick off with a gentleman called Noel Byrne. Noel has got 30 years of fantastic experience working and supporting the construction industry. He's worked at board level. He's worked with some of the kind of market leaders. He's worked heavily in sales and operations. So his kind of material is people. He understands people incredibly well. He's worked on some of the most iconic projects that the UK has had. I think, I could be wrong here, but I think he was involved in the Shard. Am I right, Noel?
Yeah, indirectly through our supply, and the Olympics.
I'm going to give Noel the floor now for a few minutes, just to talk about his experience with mentoring. I know a number of people that Noel has mentored, so I know this has had a big impact. So, Noel, if I can ask you to share your experience, and in particular, why you've called yourself an accidental mentor.
Oh, thanks. I do. An accidental mentor is certainly, when I got invited on this call, I consider myself as, because many mentors that I know, and many of the people, some of them are on this call now, who've mentored me over the years, would say they weren't mentors. I like the idea of being a trusted advisor. That fits, but I've never advertised as one or had a light on my head saying I'm a mentor. Yet I'm very privileged to be able to share, talk, advise, and help some very talented people of all ages. So it made me wonder why. I accept that we have a legacy. I accept, with all of the experience we've had, ourselves being extruded through the process of our corporate lives, etc., we do pick up a lot, and we owe, and I've always felt you have to give back, and in the same way that bitter principle is. So I believe that we owe to share what we know. So I thought about it, and part of it is people will choose you, I believe, when it comes to mentoring. You'll be chosen by them. Where does that come from? And I started thinking, I've not outrightly asked any of them, but I believe it comes from mutual respect. It comes from the fact that they realize that you're approachable, and you are approachable. You're receptive, you're interested, and then there's got to be a big element of trust. I mean, some of you may have had, I only had one official mentoring project in my 30 years in directorships. And I must admit, he was a lovely guy and a lovely coach, but it never quite worked. The chemistry wasn't there. So I suppose the mentoring that comes my way is where people have obviously chosen, and vice versa, like I would. So not all mentorees, if that's the word, are young. It's a great privilege to work with people of all ages, but I would say that the next generation, and I know some great people around me over the years, but they've struggled to understand the next generation and therefore find it hard to mentor, and I can see that. But God bless them, not us, is one thing I would say, when you are working with them. But what I love about the young people I work with specifically is, number one, if they were us, there'd be no evolution. So evolution is one of the most important things, I think, in our business lives and our general lives that we need. So I learn from them as much as they're learning from me. That's the little secret, because one of my great mentors, and he's probably on the call, I'll embarrass him, was Steve Corcoran. Took Speedy from 40 million to 500 million, and I had the pleasure of working with him. Steve always taught me to be close, no matter what role you had in a business, but to be close to the client. Because as soon as you distance yourself from the client, you lose all strategy and visibility. And in a way, by working with the next generation, I've realized it keeps me close to the client, because it keeps me close to the changing face of business and the changing face of how people are looking at business. So I find that working with young people is incredible and so rewarding. And I'm sure anybody, if you can share and work with them, it's great. But you have to accept that they're not going to approach things from the way we do. And I think that's to be celebrated rather than scorned upon. What do I do? I give advice, do I? Yeah, I sound, they use me for sounding out ideas. I think it's so important if you're mentoring not to give them advice out of your scope. And, I might have done quite a lot in life, but there's also, as many know me, quite a lot I don't know. So if someone is asking for me advice in a specific area, I would happily pass it on or recommend them or link them up with somebody who I believe could help them. It's also about affirmation. I mean, me and Paul were talking about this over the last couple of months, that I don't know if any of you've noticed that have mentored, but most of the people you're mentoring, they kind of know the answer. And I think it's in them. And it's a case of teasing that out. It's a case of basically giving them the affirmation that, what they're thinking, how to think. And that coupled with some of the lessons you've learned. I also think it's important to be there. So as a mentor, and some people who worked with me over the years, even when I was responsible for £100 million worth of business, if they rang me, I was the first person to pick up that call. And with the people that I'm working with and that choose me maybe as an advisor or a mentor, I really do realise that when they're calling me is usually in the thick of it. It's usually when they're face to face with the dilemma, the struggle, the issue, or the thing that they want to deal with. So, I think being there for them is quite important.
Can I ask you, just in your experience, have people generally contacted you for advice, or have you noticed somebody and then gone to them and said, can I speak into your situation?
Really good point, Paul. And, this is why I can be blameless if it all goes wrong for them, because no, I don't solicit that. That's why I say, I think maybe those that know me know that I'm very open, and they tend to come to me, but I suppose that's because they must, out of their dialogue with me, feel there's trust, and somehow they feel I've got wisdom. I don't know where they got that from, but they must believe that. But I think that, I never outwardly go for it, but they would kind of come to me, and isn't it lovely to work with people on an issue and to help them bounce it around? But you're right, no, I would rarely go to somebody and say, hey, I think I can help you or advise you, because I'd never be that arrogant. Would
you say you'd be encouraging people to reach out to people, not wait for somebody to put their arm around you?
Really, Paul, afterwards, you came out when we were talking a couple of days ago with a brilliant expression about the university students who, said, oh, great, hopefully a mentor will find us. Well, at the end of the day, I think that Bitter is full of some incredible characters and individuals. And I think that for people in Bitter, and certainly for the Bitter X guys, and remember, it's not about age mentoring. We all go through dilemmas, no matter what age we are, and we never stop learning. But I feel that if you can, just let people know you're available by showing an interest. Then you'll become an accidental mentor as well. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And can I just last question actually would be, if you could go back in time and you were running a business or a big department, would you say there was some real benefit of bringing mentorship as a kind of a deliberate process to a business, and what impact that would have on the bottom line?
Yeah, I think that, see, a lot of my mentors were my leaders as well, but they never realized that I was cherry picking the mentor sort of isms out of them, and I learned from them. But I think if you can get it right, if you can get the chemistry right, certainly I think it would add great value. But then you have to take away I remember when coaching programs would happen, everyone would think that they were really talking to the boss. So you'd have to really, I'm not sure you know what I'm saying, Paul, you'd have to really make sure that they get that point. But yes, I think mentoring situations are brilliant because there's a lot you don't want to share with the boss. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff you'd rather work out without the boss. So I think that, yes, I think mentoring programs in business, it's a fine balance. You have to get it right and remove any suspicion. But if you get it right and you get the chemistry right, it's a bit like a therapist relationship with a patient. It has to work chemically. So that's why I think, but generally I believe, yes, it's such an important thing. And I don't think I was ever officially mentored, but like I say, I learned from so many people who were accidental mentors. Yeah.
Well, I can honestly tell I know quite a few people that you've mentored, deliberately or otherwise, and I can see that it's had a massive impact on them personally, but also their businesses. So, to be honest, I think you and I could probably talk about this subject for another hour and leave everybody off. But, I'm going to say thank you very much, Noel. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
The next person on the list actually is Daniel. So I'm going to ask Daniel to unmute his microphone. And slightly different. So Daniel's been very kind to join us as somebody has been, I'm not sure the word, we're using the word mentee at the moment, but if I can ask Daniel to just give a really quick introduction of what his business is. I'm talking 1 or 2 minutes. And then in your own words, what's your personal experience been having received a mentor for the last couple of years? What's it done to you and your business?
Okay, so yeah, my name's Daniel Mcnaught and I run a small business based in Brighton called Invona. So I provide IT services and products mainly to small and a few sort of, well, probably not quite qualifying as medium businesses. And my background before setting up the business in 2013 was being an IT consultant for one of Europe's largest Apple sort of resellers and consultancy providers. So I work quite a lot with digital companies and people with challenges along the lines of compliance, but coming from a small business aspect. So one of my key missions has been to deliver some of the strengths of enterprise IT to the small and medium businesses, which has been a fun journey. It's yeah. So that's a summary of what I do.
Okay, so just in your own words, what's your experience? Because obviously I know a little bit of your journey, where you've been having people talk into your business and how things are run. What's your overall experience of that?
Yes, I think I've had different mentors since I started in 2013, as I say. So doesn't feel like a long time, but it goes quick, doesn't it? I had a brilliant mentor when I set up the business, which helped millions. And I think it's interesting. I know, Paul, I think you mentioned that there's a personal and also business aspect to mentoring, and so much of my journey has been learning both personally and also obviously how to run a business that's profitable, that operates efficiently and sort of communicates well with customers. Those have probably been 3 biggies for me. The journey with mentors, I think I've had probably really one mentor that I wasn't so happy with, and I've had 2 that I've been really happy with. And I think there's so many different things that stand out about the 2 that have been really helpful. But I think just to say the one that perhaps wasn't as helpful, I think part of the thing is just part of it was just finance and being able to afford somebody who's actually was charging a lot of money, but actually I didn't feel like I was getting enough benefit from that relationship to invest in it longer term. So that lasted about 6 months, and I quite quickly identified that for some reason it just wasn't working with me. So that kind of highlighted, that raised a flag, the question in my mind: how do you find a mentor who connects with you and works with you, who helps you to thrive in your own way? And I think that's been a key part of my journey.
Okay, brilliant. Is there particular takeaways? If somebody said to you, right, pick 2 or 3 things that you've taken away in the last few years that has impacted your business?
Yeah, I think probably the number one thing is perhaps something that I would have always thought is the most obvious, but just developing the ability to do as you say. For me, I mean, even if I think about my own performance, but also if I think about the performance of people that I've worked with, whether they're business owners or whether they're IT professionals in other organizations, counting on people to do what they say has been probably one of the most frustrating aspects of working with people in general. So I think for me that's a really big one. The second one that comes to mind is really paying attention to the things that are actually critical. Now, I'm king of distractions, so one of my big things in my mentoring journey is learning to kind of tweak my behavior so that I can actually focus on things, and that's been not as frustrating as I thought. I think you can kind of think it would be just plain boring, some of the things that are teaching you to be things that you think you're not, but actually it's been incredibly rewarding to focus on those things that are really important. Obviously running a business, it might be just making sure that you've got sales coming in, or that you're sending out your invoices on time, and that you're building a relationship with your customers that means you can really build a stable ongoing business. So those things are really critical for our business. And then I think lastly, really I've kind of already hit on it, is just I guess developing a rhythm of having sales that are coming in and building relationships and referrals, so that you've kind of got this pipeline that's developing ahead of where you're at, so that you're not left suddenly without work. I don't know, especially in my early days when I was operating between being an IT, almost like a contractor, I suppose, and running a managed service business. So I think that sales pipeline aspect and just having the rhythm of keeping it sort of ticking over and the consistency, and that's been really key.
Okay, would you say that how important has frequency been, as far as, is this an ad hoc thing that happens once in a blue moon, or have you felt that there's some benefit of the frequency of your meetings?
Yeah, I guess it's probably different for different people, but I feel like I need a bit more of a helping hand, maybe a bit more frequency than other people do. So I found that the best mentor relationships that I've had have been the ones that have been even for some seasons every other week. And obviously the hope is that as you learn and develop things, you maybe can reduce that. But certainly I've found it incredibly important to have the frequency, because the moment that I get back to my desk and everyone's phoning up with their latest IT problems, or we've got this new project, can you help with this, or we've got to have this compliance box ticked in the next month, help. All these different things come screaming at you, and so it's key for me just to get back in a place where you're again taking time to observe and learn and reflect with somebody who can actually help you learn and process that. So for me, frequency is really key, but I think I need more frequency than perhaps everyone would.
Okay. One of the issues that I've definitely come across in business is that it's a very difficult thing to quantify, as far as did I get my return on investment for either if you're going to be paying for that service or giving up time for mentoring. Can I ask whether you feel that it's actually added to your bottom line?
Yeah, I think the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Over the course of time, I think it's easier to look back. I think when you're setting out with a mentor, you're looking for, in a sense, the return on the investment, as you say. I think there are small ways of measuring that. Immediately, are they underlying things that are actually critical? Are they really important? And just trying to force yourself to think, are they helping me develop things that I should be paying attention to? Or do I feel like actually we're kind of going off and even if, say, one of the mentors was great, we used to have great chats and I really liked him, but actually in terms of a mentor relationship, I don't think I was getting so much value from that. Yes, I think obviously a lot of it can be reflected in the bottom line, but I think also how you see the health and the pace of your business and how you're managing yourself, whether you're feeling stressed or whether you feel like you're connecting with the mentor at a point that's realistic, but also pushing you and developing you. Yeah, hopefully that sort of is helpful.
Absolutely. And would you say that your confidence level in where your business is, where you're going to be taking it, how's that changed, and where is it now?
Yeah, I think one of the things I've really benefited from is just the way that when you're working with other people that have got decades more experience than you have been there, done that, learnt it, and although every story is unique, there's so much to learn from people that have got that experience. No, you're never strong enough on your own, but you also want to be careful not to have too many mentors in a sense. So you sort of stay focused on how you're developing. But yeah, I think so I've gone off topic, haven't I? I think for me the sorry, Paul, I'm going to have to ask you to repeat your question.
Confidence. Where's your
confidence? Yeah. So
your ability in particular to take your business to the next level under your own steam, really.
Yeah. So I think where I was trying to get to was you develop and you mature through that, and as you mature, I think that naturally builds confidence. And obviously you have some real down moments. If any business goes through hills and valleys, and you can have some moments where you just completely doubt your confidence, and I've definitely been there and had those moments where you think, is there any hope, will I ever be able to do this jolly thing, but actually having a mentor who can recognize that and help stabilize you at those moments and help you see the bigger picture, all of that journey just develops a lot more confidence. So, and I also think because I've obviously come from being a technician and started a business, if you've ever read the book E-Myth Revisited, you'll know that's the challenges associated with that. For me, I think developing the confidence to know what to look for and how to know enough about the different aspects of your business, all of that has given me a lot of confidence. And that so much of that has come from having a mentor who has been there and helped in much larger environments than just my little business, and is able to provide real wisdom and perspective on those sort of learning tracks.
That is superb. I'm gonna leave you there, Daniel. Thank you so much indeed. I would just point out that the idea of having a mentor that you pay for is a luxury for anybody, I guess. But actually, mentoring is something that's a very small proportion of the people who are involved in mentoring. It is something that is available to so many of us without actually spending a penny. So, okay, we're going to move on swiftly to Alistair. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to firstly turn your microphone on, Alistair, but just have a look at that poll.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to introduce Alistair. Alistair is the CEO of a business called Goscombe. He has a wealth of experience, very similar to Noel. He's set up a number of tech businesses that have been very successful and sold them. One of the key aspects of what Alistair has done is had people working for him, and those businesses have been a success because of the way that those people have been managed. So I'm going to ask you, if I can, Alistair, to do the same. Really. Talk a little bit about in your own words, your personal experience of how important mentoring the people who work for you, but maybe a further afield as well. What's that done for you?
Well, I think thanks for the invite anyway, Paul, to come on. It's good to see everybody. Mentorship's done an awful lot for me over the time. I love what Noel was saying about being an accidental mentee or mentor. I think that's a beautiful description of the way that I guess I've fallen into this role. But I don't think I would have seen the success in my businesses that I had if I hadn't had the right level of mentorship. And I think that's been something that's happened even way back from school days, I guess, is that you can never you shouldn't petition mentorship or menteeship as something you only get when you go into business. I think there's a huge amount of mentorship that comes from outside of business that then has implications for how you behave when you get into business. So I think a lot of what we bring to the table is life experience, not business experience. We bring common sense to the table. And it's I'm not saying that other people haven't got that common sense, but it's the application of what there is out there in life that you then can apply in the business. You use common sense to apply it in business, and that gets you a million miles.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump in with I have already a couple of questions already lined up, but just one that's just dropped in here. Would you say that it is important to work with somebody as a mentor that's had mentor training, or would you say that the relationship with those two people is paramount?
No, I don't think mentorship training is a university degree or anything like that. I think it's the type of thing that it's more about the personality and the individual and the traits that they bring. I mean, I often used to think that mentorship was a little bit like training. Is if I got appointed to be a mentor, that I was being asked to give people training and help them to understand how to do things better. But it's not actually. It's about it's not even coaching. It's something entirely different. There's a certain set of skills that you need to be a good mentor, and what you're trying to do is to actually help them to navigate through situations. You're helping them to take down barriers. You're helping them to build bridges. You're not building the bridges. You're helping them to build the bridges. And I think you've got to be a certain type of person to be a good mentor, who can to give advice and to understand and help people to understand themselves what is possible.
Yeah. Would you say, and it's very difficult to put a percentage on this, but if you've got somebody working for you and you practically create a scenario where they are receiving a mentorship by somebody that they want to be working with, what benefit would that do to that individual? As a percentage, how much growth would you say you could hope to see from that development? It's an unfair question.
It is an unfair question. It's very unfair because it depends on the person and their willingness to listen, and also the ability of the mentor as well. The best mentorships that I've had, the ones where I've seen the biggest percentage increase, are the ones that are the completely unexpected opportunities that you come across. And I'll give you some examples of that as we go, because mentorship can come from any angle. I remember when I started Goscombe Homes, and you'll know the story as well as I do here, Paul, but I live in a town called Eastbourne on the south coast, which is one of the wealthiest towns on the south coast of England, and yet we've got 44 people who are living on the streets. And I remember going along the seafront and finding somebody in a kiosk, a guy called Jeff, and I sat down beside him and discovered that he was a surveyor that just lost his job. He'd fallen off the wagon, his family had broken down, he'd end up sleeping on Eastbourne seafront. And I remember that he was asking me to give him some advice as to where he could go and what he could do and how he could get back onto the rails again. But he actually turned out to be one of the greatest mentors that I'd ever had, because he was the guy that motivated me to do something about setting up a great business, a business that's going to generate 500 million of capital assets. That was down to a homeless person sleeping on Eastbourne seafront. That was my mentor.
Very good.
And I think you have to be prepared to accept, as a mentor, you have to be prepared to accept mentorship as well as giving it out. And you never know where it's going to come from.
Yeah. And would you say, kind of similar question to ask to Noel, when it comes to being proactive in that area, would you say that you would encourage people to step out of their comfort zone and ask for help? Yes,
you absolutely got to. There is an innate thing within the human psyche that we don't want to admit that we're in need of help. And I think a really good mentor is often somebody who will be able to spot where those weaknesses are and not intervene in a way that feels threatening, but intervene in a way that makes the person feel really good. Mentorship is about motivating, and it's about building people up, not about making them feel small. So I think the opportunities to identify mentorship in a working environment, everybody needs some form of mentorship, and nobody should be ashamed of asking for it.
Right. And what's the balance between one that is random and one that is structured? How important do you think getting that right is?
In terms of the work-based program?
Yeah, I think there are businesses that introduce a mentoring program, and you will meet on this day and it'll be for an hour and you will get this person. The benefit of that over a more relaxed environment. How's the balance of those?
Well, I think that there's two aspects to that. One is, if you go back to my analogy about training versus mentorship, when you start to have a programmatic mentorship program, you tend to end up with people being cajoled into doing mentorship or being a mentee. In other words, I've got to be on the phone call at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning with my mentor. That's not actually conducive to good mentorship. And the other way of looking at it is, in my experience, I remember having mentors that I could phone up at 10 o'clock at night because I didn't have enough money in the bank to pay staff salaries, and say to them, how did you get through this when you were having the same problems in the past? And I believe that a good mentor is one who is somebody that just quietly sits in the background and is there for you when you have those challenging questions. And I wish, when I started my first business, I do wish that I had somebody like myself sitting on my shoulder when I was 18 years old setting up my first technology business, because that business would have been a lot more successful if I had.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm watching Noel and my head nod as you're saying that. So, yeah, that's fantastic. Can I say, have you received, apart from obviously the experience you had on the seafront, but have you had somebody in your early career that had a big impact? If I asked you to pluck one person out that helped you on that journey.
I have. I think, yeah, I have. I mean, I worked in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley for some time, and I came across a number of people who were, I would say, were the grandfathers of tech, people who I now look back and think these guys were incredible. I didn't realize who I was talking to at the time. And some of those guys, the ones that really impressed me, they weren't the ones that imparted infinite wisdom in terms of they had a gem of wisdom, but they're the ones that just in a fatherly way just took me aside and said, have you thought about doing it this way? When I'd actually done something wrong, but instead of them saying, well, you've done it wrong, they said, look, in my experience, I've done it this way, or have you thought about doing it a different way? And just a 5-second quip rather than a 1-hour lecture. Those are the people that I remember. Some of those guys from San Francisco were absolutely incredible. And they still, to this day, the wisdom that they've imparted to me, when I mentor people, I replay some of those things to the people I now mentor because they were so powerful in my life.
That is so good. I also love the fact that you were saying that they were asking you to look at an alternative rather than telling you what the alternative is. And I love that, giving somebody the freedom to make a choice. Anyway, Alistair, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, we're going to move on to Arnold. If you can unmute yourself, Arnold, that would be great.
I'm here.
Right, I'm going to do the same with Arnold. We're going to ask him to promote his business. If anybody's familiar with Arnold's face, he came on and did a session about his company a few weeks ago for Bitter. So welcome back.
Thank you.
But yeah, can you give me 2 minutes a minute and a half on your business, and then an overview of what you feel mentoring has done for you?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so yes, my name's Arnold. I am a director of a company called BrightTeach, and I've been running that for about 4 years. We are a tutoring company who provide tutors to students across the UK, yeah, that's basically it. We look to link people up with the right tutors. And the funny thing is, I have been running the company for 4 years, and I really believe that I wouldn't be able to run it for as long as I have been running it, and it's doing fine. We have people who work in the company, they're happy and so on. And I don't think this would have happened if I didn't have good mentorship. Personally, for me, I come from a background of biochemistry. I did a degree in biochemistry. I went into cancer cell biology, and after that, I worked for a church, and then I decided to run a business. I had no idea what business was about at all. And I was able to approach a few people who were able to sit with me relatively frequently as well, actually, and tell me, right, Arnold, these are things that are really worth considering. And I think what Alistair had said is amazing, that the idea of people who are father figures, or even those who weren't necessarily much older, who are like brother figures, that were able to just give you alternative ideas that you hadn't thought about. People have been through the same journey as you, seen where you're going, and then giving you suggestions on how you can either achieve that goal better, or maybe don't go down that path, because that path is not the best. It's not the wisest idea to go down that way. Mentorship has been a great help, definitely in this time, and I've enjoyed it a lot, as well as business, also in personal life. I recently got married, being able to get mentors in that. I just feel as though including people in your life, people who care about you, is definitely the way forward, in my opinion. And I've found also that when I say people who care about you, that doesn't necessarily mean that mentorship means you only have to go to people that you would consider friends. You find that when you approach people and you develop that chemistry, as Noel had said, that mentorship becomes more than just a weird, rigid sit down at a desk and tell me what's right and what's wrong, but more of a relationship, a friendship that's going forward, which is really great. Yeah.
Can I ask you what it's done for your ability to make good decisions, as opposed to not making good decisions?
Yes, exactly. Right. So it's helped a lot with my decision making. I found that especially for myself, I can be somebody who gets really excited about an idea. And I think that idea is a godsend, and there is no idea better than the idea that I've just come up with. And then somebody else who mentors you says, have you considered it this way? And then when you look back in retrospect, you realize how terrible your idea was, and how it would have just led to such a bad place in your business, or even not necessarily bad, but very mediocre. You wouldn't have necessarily stood out in front of anybody. If somebody had come to me, if somebody didn't come to me and say, what do you think about this, doing it this way? Yeah.
No, that's really good. So we're talking to you. I know you've got a business and I know it's successful, but let's say that we're talking where people's got a career, but they're working for someone else. Do you think this is as valuable for them as it is for you?
Sorry, just say that again. Somebody who has a career, but is...
Yeah, so they're working for another business rather than their own business. Is mentoring or receiving mentoring a good thing for everybody?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think decisions aren't just important for directors and CEOs. I feel as though decisions are important for everyone. And you find that whether your mentor is a director or a CEO, they have also worked for people, and they have had people work for them, and they will be able to tell you, one, on a relatively selfish level, if you want to put it, they'll tell you the people that they appreciate, the ones that they're most likely to promote, the ones that they're most likely to work with more. But then on top of that, how you conduct yourselves among others, among people that are in charge of you, has a real big impact, as well as on your own life. Yeah, definitely. It doesn't have to be just a director.
Yeah, and I know you employ some people. So would you say that your approach to them as the boss has been influenced by what you've received?
Oh, no doubt. Yes. In all honesty, I've found that I've really cared for my tutors and the staff that kind of work in the admin a lot more, because I've seen how people have cared for me. and I've seen the value that it has had on my life. And I really, I'm quite actually very passionate about bringing that same value to the other person. Also, just what Alistair had said as well, the 5-minute talk was incredibly helpful, sometimes more helpful than the 1-hour talk. And even being able to just, because I don't spend all my time with my tutors. I spend, maybe we have an event maybe once every half term, every term, and then I call them every now and then. But to be able to just give them 5 minutes of this is valuable, I think can really help them. And it's actually such a pleasure to see them develop, and even my staff as well. It's great.
Okay, this is going to be your last question, because I wanted to ask about whether, first of all, whether it actually impacts your bottom line. Where's your business today, and has Mentor made a big difference? But I'm going to go with the question that's just come through, which is, let me just quickly check what it was again. What is the single best piece of advice you've ever received from a mentor, and why?
Oh my goodness, that's huge. Single best piece of advice, I'd probably say, yes. It was this, funnily enough, was actually said by you, Paul, and it's helped me out so much. It was be the 1%. In life, there are people who are the 74%, and they tend to be the ones that maybe hand things in late, or might not do things to the quality that you're expecting, or the 24% who are they hand things in on time and they do it to the quality that you expect. But the 1% are the people who do things early and do it in a better quality than you were anticipating, and it leaves a greater mark on the recipient's life, or the recipient just generally, compared to the 24 and the 75. Yeah.
That is superb. Well, I do not appreciate that you're dropping my name in there, but I'll take it. Listen, thank you so much. Thank you so much for me. I really appreciate that. I'm going to just put one little slide up on the screen now before I ask Paul to come and just do a roundup. Just a quick summary of some of the things we just covered here. So if I just go to the first point, this is a really quick run through. This is my personal take on this, and as somebody who's obviously been there and done it, there's a lot of stuff I just didn't know, so I didn't even know to ask. So having a mentor has been fantastic for me. Next point is everyone has got more potential than they realise. If you just remember the Roy story, he never knew how much potential he had. And I would say Roy is us. He's every single one of us on this call. The cream doesn't rise to the surface. I've had that told to me so often in my working life, that don't worry, the cream will rise to the surface. If that person's good enough, they'll get there. It's not true. We all need help. So invest in yourself and have in others. As we've just heard today, I hope people are walking away from this meeting having not spent a penny and had some wisdom. That wisdom is around us everywhere we go, so we should be tapping into it as much as we can. Next point, have a plan, even if it means not having a plan. How you want to do this is a completely personal thing, whether it's ad hoc, whether it's calling somebody at 11 o'clock at night, or whether it's meeting on a regular basis. Whatever works for you with the people you want to talk into your life, I would highly encourage this. Next point is ideal for everyone. So Paul's going to talk in a second. He's got a son that is going through tutoring with Arnold's business at the minute. There is no reason why somebody Daniel's age or a CEO like Alistair could not receive a mentor. As Alistair pointed out, he received incredible advice from somebody, inspiration from somebody who was actually homeless. This is really a kind of a nod at what's going on at the moment in our society, in our world, is that the world needs our businesses to act quicker and make better decisions. Having mentoring done well means that better decisions are being made, less poor decisions are being made, and they're being made when we absolutely need them. So it's definitely something that I'd like everybody to take away for their own businesses. And the last point, I think, is a shout out. find a mentor or be one. And I think absolutely it will probably change your life. If you, in fact, if you do both, even more so. Okay, I can hand over to Paul now.
Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. And I must say there's a few takeaways that I did. And the first one is, Alistair, you've got a cracking radio voice. So if you ever want to change your career, please do that. I mean, it struck me straight away when I had that kind of deep tone. So there's a DJ in there somewhere. I, for one, in terms of mentorship, I'm a great fan because, you know, being brave in business is one of the hardest things to do. And I suppose, you know, I'm not talking like an old man here, but 53 years of age, already I've heard once or twice from people that if they had their time back, was being brave earlier in their career was one of the things that they would have actually wanted. I've been blessed that I'm surrounded by people who make me feel brave. And when you get that belief in terms of a tap on the shoulder at a subtle point where someone just says to you, keep going, you're doing okay. That's a mentor. That is special. And when it happens, it's so, so valuable. And that allows you to be creative and original. And, you know, that then is where mentorship for me, it's you know, it keeps you driven. It keeps you driven, it keeps you focused. But the bravery part of it, I think is absolutely essential. And I see that resonating through this conversation today. And I also see it resonating through the organization of BITA as we grow. And you know, Paul has been a big part to us. I think mentorship in particular has an important role to play in partnerships. Because like anybody, we all think we're right. You know, we have the answer. And sometimes we get so stubborn about ourselves that we don't hear you know, what's going on in the background. And again, when you have a mentor to just say, you know, stop there a second and listen to yourself. Sometimes listening to yourself gives you the answer. And that's where mentorship to me is that type of reinsurance. And someone mentioned frequency of talking to each other, frequency of seeing a mentor and talking to a mentor. That allows you to see change. It allows you to analyze change and allows you to enjoy change. So they're the takeaways from me. I'd like to thank the panelists today. Fantastic lineup. One in particular that I would like to say is bring up the point of what my son's experience was with BrightTeach. You know, we're going through a very challenging time, and me as a parent, a very difficult time in finding, you know, solace in myself that I'm doing my best for my son. And when I was spending, you know, I said the only way he's going to get a virus is through a computer because he's on it so much. So, you know, to have the facility that was created by Arnold's company in finding a tutor that understood him, and the guy comes into me and says, Dad, I'm taking maths for A-levels now. And I'm going, what? You know, you must have got your mother's brains because you didn't get it from me, you know, but this is all because of that one-to-one. And that Arnold is actually providing, like, you know. So, and that happened through collaboration, through talking to each other, and probably through mentorship, but we didn't know. So I'm a great champion of it. I'd like to thank you on behalf of BITA today and Diane, our Executive Director, who's put a lot of work in behind the scenes in this. So I hope you'll join us soon for more online stuff from BITA and BITA X, of course. Paul Edmund, brilliant host, well done. And guys, have a good evening. Cheers.
Take care.